Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live on your radio. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, no doubt, starts now. This, my fellow Americans, is the broadcast for March 10th. In the year of our Lord, 2025, this is hour one of two, with the goal always to protect life, liberty, and property, to promote God, family, and country, to do so on your radio in the traditions of our founding fathers. Yes, indeed, we use the checks and balances brilliantly put in place by the founding fathers and the supreme law of the land, the Constitution for the United States of America, as our guide. We reject revolution unless it's a Jesus revolution. Then we're in, because we follow the Prince of Peace. Welcome to the broadcast. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you had a delightful God, family, country-style weekend. Dr. Scott Bradley's in the house. freedomsrisingsun.com. Welcome back, sir.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to start off a fresh, new, shall we say, unbright and early daylight savings time day.
Well, we're going to get to that in just a second. But first, I hear rumors that X is down. Is
really?
X down? Thousands of users report service outage this morning. So I don't know if X is completely down or what. I think it's partially down for certain people and everything else. But, I mean, X being down is kind of like the end of the world, Doctor. Not.
Well, I hadn't noticed as what my big problem was, I guess. But maybe I'm
You're
just so
not up
behind
with
the
the times,
curve.
buddy.
No, you're right. I'm not up with the times in so many ways. I plead guilty. But
you know what? I don't think we need to be up with the times. And I'm not against X. I think it's a wonderful tool. But we got to understand we cannot change our life's blood to this. We cannot, act like this. Everything is tied to this. I talked to my kids about this a little bit yesterday. And my wife, we were around the dinner table having a Sunday dinner and everything else. And we kind of talked about a little bit of this technology stuff and about how, when I grew up, they didn't even have cell phones and stuff, no internet, no cell phones. And my kids just kind of can't understand that. They're just like, Dad, how did you guys function? How did you guys live? I said, we actually pulled over and stopped at a store and got a map and asked for directions and stuff. That's one, Anyway, interesting conversation. And the next morning I wake up and X is down. And I just go, wow, what do you think of that?
It is interesting that we really do have, and I've fallen into this trap, honestly. If I know somebody's carrying a cell phone, I just have to ask myself, why didn't they answer me when I called them, And I think about, I left home when I was 16, and I traveled around the country and saw some. I mean, we don't need to get distracted by that, but the fact of the matter is, on occasion, I'd stop at a payphone, as you mentioned, and maybe I'd call my
those
folks.
Those cost a dime or a
collect.
quarter, Doctor, just wondering.
Well, I called collect, man. I didn't have any coins in my pocket to pour into the top of that thing. It really was, hey, you accept a collect call, and I probably was very remiss. I mean, as a parent, I think back now, how in tarnation did they put up with that stress? But really, I mean, we've all kind of adopted and adapted and moved on to these new methodologies.
Oh yeah, when I had children, one of my better friends came to me and said, "Hey, you're gonna have a baby, I hear. That's great." And he says, "Are you ready to have done to you what you did to your parents?"
Well, honestly, I left home early enough, but maybe they didn't do all the things that they had intended to do to me. But
no, it's what you did to them.
Oh,
right?
No. That is the problem,
Call and collect and stuff like that. That was expensive back in the day.
It was, and it was interesting that it seems like, I'm just going by memory, that was a lot of years ago, that they usually, they'd say, well, give me the phone number of the payphone you're at. We'll call you back. Because it cost less per minute if you weren't on a collect. They'd had a kind of a premium cost to that, As in premium not being less, it's more, So
yeah.
it was a different world in those days. And
yeah, for sure. Anyway, I just find that interesting. X is down, and just so you know, ladies and gentlemen, listen to me very carefully. You're going to be okay. It's going to come back up in a few hours, a few days, I don't know. A few hours. It's going to be just fine. Meanwhile, we got bigger fish to fry, I'll tell you that right now. Headline, should daylight savings time be canceled? Looks like President Trump and Elon Musk weigh in on this topic. I think it's a disgrace the way they weighed in on it personally. I don't know what they're thinking or doing. I guess Elon Musk did a poll. And the poll shows that it's conflicted. Some want daylight savings time. Some want to stay on standard time. Some people want to leave it the way it is, and some people want neither. And so since it's such a controversial, divisionary issue that doesn't have much upside, then Donald's prepared to, well, he said he was going to go ahead and deliver on it back in November, December before he got elected, or right after he got elected. But now it seems to be kind of a non-issue. And I find that personally to be a disgrace. And there you have it. So let's just listen to a little clip of Trump. It's quiet at the first because the reporter's not near the mic. But what the reporter's saying is, hey, what about this time, change deal? Are we going to do anything about it? And here's what Trump had to say.
The clocks are going to spring forward on Sunday. When are you going to get rid of daylight savings time?
Okay, are you ready? So, this should be the easiest one of all, but it's a 50-50 issue. And if something's a 50-50 issue, it's hard to get excited about it. I assume people would like to have more light later, but some people want to have more light earlier because they don't want to take their kids to school in the dark. And it's a little bit one way, but it's very much a 50-50 issue. And it's something I can do, but a lot of people like it one way, a lot of people like it the other way. It's very even. And usually I find when that's the case, what else do we have to do?
In other words, I told you it was a big issue when I was running, and after I got elected, now it's not a big issue. Now we're going to run everything by the polls. We're going to put our thumb up in the wind, doctor, and we're just going to see which way the wind blows. Golly, I can't tell which way the wind's blowing. I'm not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. And that's really what we're seeing here. And I look at that, and I just have to say shame for a bunch of reasons. We'll get into them in a second, but I want you to be able to respond first.
I got to admit, daylight savings time sneaked up on me this year. I had heard Trump making all these noises about, it's a done deal, we're going to do this. And then yesterday comes along and goes, holy cow, they're going to do it anyway, And I guess I was always saying, and you've heard me say oftentimes, he overpromises and underdelivers in so many ways. But it is disappointing to see a majority rules kind of thing. And when he sees no upside to something, it's just a non-issue to him. And so you have to kind of ask if decisions are made based upon polling and leverage and how this thing is going to be perceived by the majority of the people and so on and so forth. That is not what the president's job is to do. It's to do the right thing for the right reasons. Now, whether the daylight savings time falls into that category, I suspect we were stupid to do it to begin with. In the times in the past that it's been done, we've always come back to the standard time. And we've talked about how in celestial time, you look at the polar star, the North Star, and the Big Dipper, and you can tell time with that if you know how. And with daylight savings time, you have one more step that you have to do in your calculation of that. So, my opinion is the stars have it. Not the Dancing with Stars thing, but the heavenly manifestations, if you will. The way the stars align. I don't know how you want to put this, but I think that there is a standard time based upon.
So let's just ask this: before governments in modern day tampered with it, it was standard time, right?
Well, yeah. The sun.
So all you got to say if you're Donald
down.
Trump is, hey, you know what? I know this is a weird, controversial issue. I know people have got used to it different ways, but we're going to go back to the standard time, the time that it was before before we messed with it. And by the way, it's not a debate whether people want light earlier in the day or light later in the day. That's the way the debate goes if you want to go ahead and create controversy and division. Okay? But here's how the debate goes if you want to be honest and true. Before government messed with it, it was standard time. Therefore, if we're going to back out of it, we shouldn't back out of it and go to a government-adjusted time. We should back out of it and go to standard time before we started messing with it, which we should not have done in the first place. However, I'd like to introduce Bobby Kennedy to every one of you, RFK Jr., because this is a health issue. It's not a debate whether you like morning light or later light or whether you like the government messing with the time or any of those kind of things. The spring forward of daylight savings time comes with health concerns, say the experts. Changing your biological clock to match government-manipulated time twice a year is very dangerous. It's harmful for people when it comes to sleep. It messes up people's circadian rhythms. It's expensive to go back and forth. Therefore, in the interest of getting government out of your life, ladies and gentlemen, I introduced Bobby Kennedy to break down some of the health realities for you on this. And I'm telling you right now, as President of the United States, I'm not going to debate whether it's morning light or evening light or whatever divisionary issue they want to bounce around about this. I'm just telling you, we're getting government out of it, and we're going to get out of it in a way that brings us back to the time before we started messing with it. And I'm going to side on the side of health. This isn't an opinion. This is a health concern. And for the health of all Americans, we're getting rid of daylight savings time. But here's the deal. Go ahead and skip the break. Here's the deal. They failed. Okay? And this coming out of the gate, Congress has been there for what? 10 weeks or something? 11 weeks?
A couple hundred years.
I'm talking about this modern Congress where they could change it.
I know,
right?
but they've been it broke down for so
but
long.
your point is they've messed with it and played games with it, and they started it, and the American people hated it, and they backed away from it, and then they changed it, and they this and that. And Americans have hated this issue forever. But yet now it's too controversial to touch. So what we're going to do is we're going to grind to a halt in government and do nothing. Okay, and I've got a problem with this because, in my opinion, you could say, well, Sam, this is just a goofy issue. You're wasting your time. Why? No. I submit to you that this is a fundamental, simple issue that could be resolved in 5 seconds. You could point to the health realities and say, we're not going to manipulate the time. This year, we're not going forward again. We're just not doing it. Okay, we're going to have the government stay out of it. Standard time has sway because that's the way it was before we started. Health concerns. I'm sorry that it's lighter in the morning. You know, you can talk to God about that. You ought to pray anyway, by the way. So, hey, good way to start prayers. Lord, how come this is the way, whatever. But I look at this and I go, this just articulates the failure that we're in, Doctor, if you ask my opinion. President on down. Trump's not going to touch it with a 10-foot pole. He's too afraid. Congress will never touch it because it's too complicated and they don't want to work. Right?
Well, truly,
that's where we are.
They're, like I say, they overpromise and underdeliver. But the fact of the matter is, the term sidereal skies has to do with the apparent motion of the stars. Okay. And if you go by that, and again, it is a celestial apparent motion of a God-ordained system and all that kind of stuff. But this thing about health issues is an interesting kind of thing, too, because
it's real.
Honestly, yeah, for a lot of people, it kind of throws them into a tailspin, and some people get depressed one way or the other or whatever.
Because really, it's seven something in the morning right now, right? It's 7:17 in the morning right now. At least Mountain Time.
It's 8:18. I mean 8:17. Excuse me for Mountain Time during. Okay, you're talking about the sidereal skies.
It's supposed to be 7:17 right now.
Right.
We arbitrarily changed it to 8:17 Saturday night last weekend. I lost an hour of sleep there, and now every day I got to get up an hour earlier.
Hey, the truth of the matter, Sam, it really is. I mean, you cannot, as the old sage is said to have said, I don't know if it was anybody in particular, but you can't cut a foot off the blanket on one end and sew it on the other end and have the blanket be a foot longer. The blanket is still the same length, however you do it. And the sunshine hours are the same.
Yeah, you can play games and say, now it covers my feet, it doesn't cover your chest, or, it covers my chest, and it doesn't cover my feet, or whatever. But the deal's just the same, right? And so anyway, I point to this, though, because isn't this a quintessential example of we just can't get anything done? Even after we've been promised it would get done.
Well, we get dinking around with things that they ought not to have dinked around to begin with. But I think, the way it was is the way it should be. And
so is it promises made, promises kept, or promises made, promises shirked?
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, I see this as a bigger manifestation of a problem. If decisions are made based upon the way the wind's blowing or the way, the split on the population.
I'm going to take a poll.
Yeah, that's it. If you take a poll, churches do this now, by the way.
Yeah, that's a disgrace, too. God doesn't.
It is.
God isn't in his heavens based on polls, people.
Exactly. And I think that it's an indication of oftentimes if Trump or Schiff or anybody in government gets let's look at Newsom. Let's just take that as an example. Was this trans argument, women, sports, and all this kind of stuff, and now Newsom's given this kind of a a shift in the polar magnetic field or something. He's starting to talk, well, yeah, the people really do not want boys playing in girls' sports, and so suddenly, and the trans agenda people are just going bazonkers on it. But it's based upon shifts in, and that those things are often set by how articulate someone can speak. If someone is very persuasive, they shift. People's opinions shift. And that should not be how we run nations and our local government and everything like that. If it's wrong to steal somebody's private property for some reason, you don't go steal it because suddenly it's a popular thing to do.
Well, and I look at this and I say a lot of times when the leaders poll the people, what they're really trying to do is say, hey, we have an agenda. We want to promote this agenda, but we're afraid of the people. And we have to see if we can't agitate things, manipulate things, to where the people are with us. And then once we get kind of the mob mentality with the people with us, we can do anything we want. But if the people are against us, we got to be very, very careful because it won't go well for us. And that's kind of the way I see this thing.
Well,
and I see it as a mistake.
Well, it's a big mistake, and it can be done horribly bad for a lot of reasons. Let's just take an example that everybody should be aware of if they've, in recent years anyway, read their scriptures. You remember when
imagine
Christ,
that. That's awesome.
Imagine.
Got to do that.
When Christ
people.
was taken before Pilate, he was the Roman tribunal that had the thumbs up, thumb down, power over life and death. The Jewish religious hierarchy had determined they were going to murder Christ, but they wanted it done by Roman sanction so that the people, if they were going to blame anybody, by golly, they better blame the Romans. So they went there, and Pilate says, should I crucify your king? Because he was told, some people believe he's the king of the Jews. And the hierarchy moved among the people, getting them to kind of rally up in this thing until finally the people say, kill him, his blood be upon us and upon our posterity. And that's where this blood libel thing happens. And we've just said something anti-Semitic based upon U.S. law and all this kind of stuff. And certainly
we've told the truth based on reality, ladies and gentlemen. That's what happened back in the day. And it was wrong to murder then, and it's wrong to murder now, and it's wrong to agitate and manipulate the people dishonestly. Because then, Pilate went back and said, I find no fault with this man. And then he's like, hey, do whatever you guys want. You guys are responsible. Now, I don't think it works that way as Pilate hoped, but I think that's the reality of what was done. Anyway, I know you can say, well, this is over daylight savings time, Sam. Are you kidding me? I'm pointing out to you that I think we're failing already. And people are saying, no, give Trump more time. Trump needs more time. I don't think so. When you start to miss big opportunities to change the game, then you miss big opportunities. So imagine if we came out and got this done like, hey, we put this bill on Trump's desk, and so after January the 3rd or 4th or whenever they went to Congress and before Trump got there, hey, there's a bill waiting on your desk to get rid of daylight savings time. We'd come out of the gate with a win. And then now, over this last weekend, you'd have an hour more sleep, people, and you'd be like, you know what? Trump is effectively making a difference. The new Republican Congress is effectively making a difference. Whereas now all you can say is, hey, they talked big and they failed. It's a non-issue now. And you're not going to be able to say November change it or next year change it, because now you're in election time and now you're towards Christmas and now you got the big ballots budget disaster lie in your face. Okay. So now Mike Johnson, quote, unveils funding bill literally 1 week before potential shutdown. Now, it's not really a week. It's only 5 days. Anyway, the government's going to shut down at the end of this week unless they do something about it, doctor. And I call it failed clown leadership, unveiled a measure to fund the government through September the 30th. The 99-page legislation, they say, would increase spending for the military by $6 billion. And then it would, send more money to WIC, and it would do this and that. But overall, doctor, they say they're spending less than last year. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. It's a lie. It's a kick the can down the road. It's a what do they call that thing? A CR?
It's a continuing resolution.
Yeah, CR.
It really is.
Continuing resolution. Okay, it's bogus. They need to pass the budget normally, yearly, as they used to do. Now they're okay, and they want you and I to go for it, and they say we need time to work on this. Doctor, they don't need time to work on it. They've had from November, when Donald Trump won, till now to put together a plan. In my mind, that's like, I don't know, 5 months. Okay. And even if you didn't know if Trump was going to win or not, as the Republicans, you got 435 members of the House. That's where all spending bills should originate anyway. Couldn't you put together your plan just in case? I'm going to do that if an important person dies. If I was important enough, they'd have an obituary for Sam Bushman based on when he dies, and they'd have a general thing written up that they could just tweak a little bit and release. And in fact, the proof in the pudding is sometimes media releases those before someone dies and they have to eat crow on it instead. Oh, sorry, but okay. And they have these outcomes and these. Can't you do that to the budget too? I don't buy that they're out of time, but what they want is they say, we need more time to work on this, doctor. Please kick the can down the road, give us more time. But it's not even a cut. They want to increase the debt ceiling. They want to do this. They want to do that. They want to, and I'm just going, what about all the Doge cuts? What about that Trump says that we can chop the military budget in half from $1 trillion down to $500 billion. But this thing says Mike Johnson unveils funding bill 1 week before potential shutdown, increases military spending by $6 billion. Why, if Trump wants to chop it in half, do we want to increase it by $6 billion? See, the problem is they've failed. They're going to get nothing done. At the end of the week, there's going to be a big old cave and a capitulation, and they're going to pass it because they don't want to shut down government. Or they're going to shut down government for a few days, and then somebody's going to waffle, and then they're going to open government back up and go, glad we got past that. Wow. And they're going to just lie and deceive and manipulate. And we've failed, doctor. Daylight savings time in the budget. Now, here's the next thing. How long until you have to file your taxes? 6 weeks? Oh, they don't have time to get rid of the IRS or stop the IRS abuses. You'll just file your taxes April 15th, like forever before, and it won't change. Whereas, see, Trump has time to put tariffs in place. What about time to give relief to the American people? Now you're going to have the IRS and tariffs at your door. And you wonder if that'll affect the economy? Folks, this is disaster. So unless they get a bill in place to decrease our income tax, rates, or abolish the IRS or do something, you've got these three hurdles. We missed the daylight savings time opportunity. We missed the budget opportunity. We're going to miss the IRS opportunity. What do we got left, doctor? They're going to start running the elections here pretty quick now. And I'm telling you right now, we have failed. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of good that's being done. And I commend the good that's being done. But it's in spite of the system, not because of. Trump is doing a good job in a lot of ways. But between him and Congress, I'm telling you, the deep state's too deep for these people, doctor, and they don't realize it. And what they want to do is they want to say, Sam, you should give, Trump and Congress more time. They just need more time. And my response is, when will that argument go away? Oh, well, Sam, it'll probably go away when Doge goes away. July 2026 or something. You clowns are goofy. All they're doing now is reducing Elon Musk's ability to get much done. He's being challenged by judges. He's being challenged by congressmen and senators. He's being challenged by Steve Bannon. He's being challenged by everybody. Now, I'm not here to pick sides between Bannon and Musk, but that's a big old battle brewing in the Trump administration. Meanwhile, the people get shafted. Doctor, am I off on this thing?
We've been predicting, since day one. This continuing resolution thing is not going to end. In fact, it's become such a habit. But here's the deal: the Congress had a job to pass this. You can't date it back just to Trump's election or to his inauguration or anything like that. You date it back. It had to be passed by September 30th, 2024. That was their job, and they failed to do that. They did a continuing resolution. Oh, we need more time to think about this and all this. Okay, we'll pass this and say we're going to fund the government basically where it is now, and they continue to do this. They're absolutely they're remiss in everything they're doing. Absolutely, and it's tragic. And Mike Johnson's facilitating it.
And now they say the Trump administration has removed over 50,000 illegal immigrants since January. Sounds like an incredible headline, right? Let's break it down. We'll do it in seconds. I am Sam Bushman.
Million.
Dr. Scott Bradley's with me. freedomsrisingsun.com is his website. Check out his weekly webinars, Q&As on the Constitution, and his incredible collegiate series to preserve the nation. freedomsrisingsun.com. Back in seconds, a whole lot more where this came from on your radio.
Exposing corruption, informing citizens, pursuing liberty. You're listening to Liberty News Radio.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Although he is not predicting it, President Trump isn't ruling out the possibility of a steep economic downturn amid uncertainty over the impact of tariffs.
After making several references last week to possible economic pain, the president was asked on Fox News' Sunday Morning Futures if he's expecting a recession this year.
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big.
He also said Americans will need to be patient before seeing the benefits of his tariff and trade policies.
It takes a little time. It takes a little time.
Greg Clugston, the White House.
Tariffs are a big issue north of the border, where Canada's Liberal Party has chosen Mark Carney as its leader. That means left-leaning Carney will be the country's next prime minister.
The Canadian government has rightly retaliated and is rightly retaliating with our own tariffs that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impact here in Canada. And my government will keep our tariffs on until the Americans show us respect.
Carney heard there on the BBC. President Trump says Canadians have taken advantage of the U.S. for way too long, and he says he's committed to leveling the playing field. A French official telling the AP that more than 30 nations will take part in a planning session in Paris, laying the groundwork for a security force in Ukraine. The supervisor of an English port says more than 20 casualties have been brought ashore after a collision between an oil tanker and a cargo ship in the North Sea. There are still mariners unaccounted for. All 5 people aboard the small plane survived yesterday afternoon's fiery crash in a parking lot in Manheim Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. There were no injuries on the ground. Watching Wall Street, the Dow down 361 points. The Nasdaq is off 464. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I've been thinking, why does it feel like losing weight is harder than ever before? With mixed messages, fad diets, the quick fix injections, even magic coffee. I mean, it's overwhelming. Most people are exhausted trying to fight a battle they cannot win. If you feel this way, trust me, you're not alone. I used to feel that way too. But let me tell you, it's not your fault. Your body is working against you, and the longer you wait, the harder it gets. Do what I did. I called PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition 3 years ago. I lost 53 pounds. I feel terrific, and I've kept the weight off. Make the phone call that can change your life the way it has changed mine. They won't let you fail. Call 855-696-2020. That's 855-696-2020 to schedule your consultation. The first 11 callers who mentioned the word healthy will get 2 free weeks added to their weight loss package. Call now, 855-696-2020. Mention the keyword healthy to get 2 free weeks, or visit them at myphdweightloss.com, myphdweightloss.com.
Introducing Managed IT Services from NPI. We offer top-notch data backup and recovery, email spam protection, and network security tailored to your needs and budget. With 20-plus years of experience in the medical field, our HIPAA-certified consultants know what it takes to protect sensitive information. Don't settle for less. Give us a call at 801-706-6980 and experience the difference with Managed IT Services. Remember, your IT support should be fast, efficient, and reliable.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids.
Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Scott Bradley with me, freedomsrisingsun.com. So is X down, I asked at the start of the show. Users report outage this morning. Now the Gateway Pundit writes, deep state attack? ? Twitter is down this morning. TheGatewayPundit.com looks like the Twitter account for the Gateway Pundit. They weren't able to log into it this morning. They're wondering if it's a deep state attack. They're saying the liberals are mad at Elon Musk over free speech. And so there might be more to that. We'll keep an eye on that as the broadcast unfolds, by the way. But I was talking about the Trump administration, they say, has removed over 50,000 illegal immigrants since January. Now, I don't mean to be offensive, but I look at that and go, I know. That sounds like a big number. And I guess if you're talking about people that can rape your wife and daughter and kill you, then, okay, it's a pretty big number. But when you think about reality, it's nothing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not trying to down Tom Holman. I love the guy. I think he's great. I think he's right. I think he's doing his best. I think Trump's doing his best. But judges have caused all kinds of problems. There's not been congressional backing or supporting of this hardly at all. The Lincoln Riley Act, a little bit. Okay, good for them. But it's not near enough, people. I'm not trying to be rude. It's not near enough. And I'll give you an example then. Let's just say that it's been 2 months. Even if we take, let's see, half of January and half of February, and now we're half of March. What do you want to say, 60 days to be on the conservative side of the discussion? Fine, 50,000 people in 2 months. That's 25,000 people a month, right? 25,000 people a month times 12 months is how much? 300,000 people. Okay, so by the time the next Congress, if we keep that pace up, by the time the next Congress comes, we will have only got, or the next election cycle, I should say, we've only dealt with about 600,000 illegals. Folks, Trump brought in like 20 million. Biden brought in like 20 million. Okay, we're going to have to get rid of at least, a couple of million before the next election cycle, or we're doomed. Now, here's the deal. It's 2025, right? Well, the 2030 census is coming here in 5 years, a little less, right? Because they get started earlier or whatever the case may be. Okay, so if you've got 20 more million illegal aliens than you had before Biden took office, and let's say that you get rid of, I don't know, even 1 million a year, just say, for the next 4 years. You've only got rid of 4 million. He brought in 20 million. You're going to have these people counted in the census, and these illegal aliens are going to grant seats to blue states, or whatever you want to call it. I don't even like the red-blue divide, but there you go. But you're going to have all these states manipulated based on which sanctuary cities took the most illegals, tipping their numbers and in essence robbing others of representation. It's a ticking time bomb, Doctor.
Well, maybe I wasn't listening very carefully. I thought you said 150,000 were moved out, and
no, 50.
50, just 50. Okay, so it's worse than this. I did the calculation. If you've done 50,000, so 50,000, okay, and they brought in 20 million during his time.
That's right.
That is less than 0.25%. So 0.25%. So less than 0.25%. And you do the math and project that over the full length of the thing. This is, I bet you there's people out there, and somebody can check me on this, that'll say, oh no, Obama kicked that many out during this same period of time.
There's already numbers like that.
Okay, so here's the deal.
And so did Biden. Biden kicked out a lot too, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah, there were people removed, and they may not have always been the right people, and they were doing the wrong thing at the same time. But the fact of the matter is there has been movement all along of removing people from the nation, and this is a pittance, an absolute pittance. There needs to be 100 times that much faster. Now, I don't, I guess I'm speculating on some of these things, but I'm guessing that there's almost nobody that's nervous about being removed. I mean, it's almost like they'll never get around to me.
Well, I do know when the talk was big right at the start, there was a lot of nervousness. I have people that I know that aren't illegal, but they know and have family and people, and they know, so they came to me and they said, "Hey, will Trump really execute this? Will it really happen?" And I said, I think he will, but I think he's going to start with the criminals and the gangsters and this and that. So I don't think a lot of people have too much to worry about. And hopefully, the closer we get towards normalcy in terms of people that just want a better life, the more we can let justice and mercy kind of work on this. And they were really scared, but now a lot of them aren't scared because it's not really happening, Doctor.
No, it's a non-issue, and to me, it's like they've traded maybe a little bit of methodology and a little bit of shall we call, public press, and they're making a big deal out of it. I mean, it's almost an unmoved needle. And,
That's right.
Even if there had been no movement out of the country previously with previous administrations, this is 0.25%, and you project 0.25% over 4 years, and it kind of hardly even is a blip,
Well, like I say, if you take $25,000 a month, because we're into it 2 months, that's generous too, because we're really into it further than 2 months, right?
Right.
Okay, then that's 50,000 people. If you times that, it's 300,000 people a year. If you do that times Trump's presidency, I mean, you're lucky to get 1 million people gone, 1.2 million or so. Million and a half. You're not even close to 2 million. You're not even close to 10% even after 4 years, Doctor.
There's probably 1 million terrorists in the country that have come in because we don't know who they are. That we don't know about the getaways. We don't know about their intent. If they're not terrorists, they're at least hardened
cartel
criminals
members, gang members.
Yeah, the hardened criminals have come in. If you project that over a 4-year period, it's kind of like blip. Oh, we missed all of the whole point of what Americans really intended to happen with this election. So
now, I might be remiss a little
sad.
bit because in Trump's defense, the border used to leak like a sieve, and now even liberal reporters are going to the border and saying, hey, I don't see a bunch of illegals squatting everywhere like we did before. And so I'm not saying that they haven't moved the needle and made some progress. But it's kind of like if I have a 1,000-mile trip and, it's been 20 days into the trip. And so you drive and you say, hey, man, Sam's got, 19 miles done. I had to drive for quite a while to get to him. It took me 20 minutes in a car just to get to him. Sounds good. But in the end, I'm not even on my way hardly, even though, yes, I've started. It reminds me of the border wall a lot, Dr. Bradley. Trump wants you to believe the border wall has been built forever. The fact is, Steve Bannon got prosecuted over taking money for the wall because he tried to raise money because, the Mexicans weren't going to pay for it and Congress wasn't going to pay for it and everybody shut down Trump and therefore the wall didn't get built. And we wanted, and it's the same kind of deal. We're getting stalled on these issues. We're stalled on the budget now. We haven't got rid of Planned Parenthood or shut down the pro-death folks at all. In fact, this Friday or Saturday, they're going to pass the big omnibus budget bill, and folks are saying, hey, can we defund Planned Parenthood in this thing? And it's a non-starter. No one's talking about it except for folks like me. See?
Yeah, fam, let's talk about Planned Parenthood for just a second.
Let's do it.
About $700 million a year goes to Planned Parenthood. And they say, we're putting it in areas that won't go for abortions. Here's the deal. If an organization gets a bag of money and they do something, that bag of money allows them to offset. They say, okay, it won't go for abortion. But now we can say we're paying for other things, not abortion, and that frees up money to make abortions that they would not have spent, okay? And your church does this too. Every church that says, we're funding UNICEF, millions of dollars, whatever the number is, but it's not going to abortion, it's going to, educate young girls, whatever. I mean, they have all sorts of excuses. But the fact of the matter is it freed up UNICEF's other budget to kill babies, and so they do that. And so churches, political organizations, non-government entities, whatever you want to call them, that are somehow funding this abortion thing through the back door. Because if you give them a pot of money, it frees up money to give them allowance to do other abortions without having to actually use the money you gave them to do it, but your money you gave them freed it up for them to do. Okay, so churches and non-government organizations and nonprofits and all these federal funding things, and federal funding right now is about $700 million for Planned Parenthood annually. It's a non-government. It's not. There isn't a single tie to the government other than they're feeding off the trough, and they kill about 300,000 babies a year. I mean, that's 1,000 babies a day that they're killing when we give them money. Whoever this funding's coming from, they reallocate funds within their organization to put the money where they want it, and this gift of $700 million might go to something that they say, oh no, this isn't associated with abortion, but it freed up money within the organization to
we're playing games with words.
facilitate.
It's like if you give me $1 and then I say I pay somebody to kill somebody for $1, and then they say Sam's spending Scott's money to kill people with the $1 that he got from Scott, and Sam says no, the money I got from Joe is that money. This money is good money. It's helping people, and it's all a big old lie. It's a scam.
It's clean money, they say, and it's not. It's not clean money. If you put money in the organization,
well, first off, that theft has to occur for them to even have the money.
Well, from government agencies.
That's right.
But we're kidding ourselves if we think our churches are not facilitating the same concept. With UNICEF, let's say, we're helping with vaccinations. Then we can get talking about the reintroduction of polio and the infertility that's caused when you give tetanus shots in Kenya. I mean, all of these kinds of things, the inherent danger of vaccines, all of these things are really, they try and compartmentalize a donation, and they can't do that. If money comes into the family budget, Sam, I don't care if you gave me $1 to do it or if I earned the $1, that $1 is going to go what I choose to,
That's right.
So, and the government right now, we could do through a budget reconciliation process, the removal, even as much as I hate the system the way they've set up, with budget reconciliation, you could probably adjust the $700 million out of the budget that the people are putting towards Planned Parenthood. It's a scam. They're using government stolen money from you and me as taxpayers to fund abortions. That's the bottom line.
And the reason I bring it up is it's got to stop. Okay? Why are taxpayers still funding Planned Parenthood? You want the answer? Same reason we can't get rid of daylight savings time. Same reason we can't cut the budget. Same reason we can't fund government, because Congress is derelict in their duty. And I'm telling you that I think literally every one of them should be removed, Doctor.
Oh, yeah, they should be. And
not because there's not a couple of good guys there, but because we need to send such a clear message that even the good guys, I guess just get caught in the crossfire. But we have got to start to look at this differently. Okay, we're making no progress on anything that matters. If we can't protect life, if we can't get government out of our lives, if we can't reduce spending, so stop the stealing, stop the steal, they usually refer to the elections, but I'm talking broader. Stop the steal should be these budgets. You're going to fund Planned Parenthood and increase funding for military murder around the world? How do we stop the murder mentality is the real question, right?
Well, it's a big picture. There's no question, and that's wrong. We're spending money, but it's wrong that we're unconstitutional. You cannot redistribute wealth to anybody, corporations, any kind of, some kind of, goody, what would you call them, do-gooders?
Professional do-gooders is what you call them.
There's no authority to redistribute wealth whatsoever, taking by force. That's what government is force. Try not paying your taxes sometimes. You'll get the big hammer on your head. They're using force of government to take money from regular folks, and they're redistributing it to another organization. It's wrong. Even if they weren't doing abortion, if they were going to do sex education or swept floors in orphanages, I don't care. Whatever it is, you cannot take money for whatever purpose and redistribute it to anybody. Not individuals or municipalities or counties or states or corporations or anybody. You cannot do that constitutionally. So it's wrong on all those fronts.
And so that's why, some would be, Sam, you just don't be so negative. Look at all the good Trump's done. I'm going to let Trump, work on the good that he does or whatever. I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give him time. And my response is, folks, we are out of time. Okay? If you let this IRS opportunity go by, I mean, we've never had a better chance to abolish the IRS or diminish the scope of the IRS in our entire lives. Have we? Is there a better opportunity than now? The president has really said, I want to create an external IRS, do tariffs. I want to reduce and or get rid of the internal IRS. Have we ever had a president even say that in our lifetimes, much less do it? Never.
No.
Okay, so I'm not downing Trump, folks. What I'm telling you is that Congress is feigning support for Trump, but undermining him at every turn. Okay, if Congress literally had a bill on his desk for daylight savings time before he even took office, I guarantee Trump would have signed it and taken credit for it, which would be great. Okay, but because Congress did nothing, and because now they're kind of doing a poll engaging the people, who's the problem? Well, same thing with Planned Parenthood. Hey, how do we get that out of the budget? Can't. We're ready to spend more money. We can't touch this thing. We're about to fail and shut down government entirely. We've got to fund murder and keep government open. No, you don't. The best thing that could happen at the end of the week is to shut down government, Doctor.
Well, we've kind of advocated that, and they make it all ain't it awful. And you know what they do, by the way? In Yellowstone, when they shut down the government, they fail to unlock the restrooms. Because hitting the restroom is an emergency sometimes to people. And, that's the one they fail to do. We can't, we're not funded enough to send somebody open the restrooms. Anything else is not nearly as painfully felt, if you will. So they make the shutdowns as painful as they can and as owing to awful as they can. And it's, and I hate to even, we're almost out of time, but I got to tell you, there is a movement today. There is let's go to all the state capitals and the national capital. Veterans are invited to. I got an invitation to go march, and the veterans are not going to put up with this. Well, what are they not going to put up with? Are the veterans in favor of waste and corruption, or are they just saying, well, because they're trying to cut the veteran payroll in terms of people that work for the administration? Well, are they people that aren't working? Are they part of corruption? None of that is ever explained. So if you hear about veterans marches on state capitals and national capitals, like I say, I got invited to one, and I'm not going, but I don't have any idea. I mean, they don't have any idea what they're protesting. And so everybody's all, the veterans are, getting the short end of the stick. Well, maybe. Does that mean that you want waste and corruption in the Veterans Administration? Well, no, but we're all going to lose benefits. No, what makes you think so? I mean, everything is done in a broad brush. Nobody seems to get to the bottom of an understanding, and people, it's fire ready aim, and so that's part of the problem Trump really has. He makes broad brush promises. And then the devil's in the details, and you never get the details. And then finally something happens, and it's like, well, wait. This wasn't change I can believe in that I believed in, There's just all sorts of loose ends, and they're agitating people and getting them spun in different, there's centrifugal force spinning people off in all directions. And to me, everybody's playing into the hands of those that want to divide and conquer. It just settle down, go with principle, quit trying to play everybody against everybody else. Let's get to the facts. I'd like some details on almost everything that Trump has said, and I've never gotten any. It's phenomenal. You say, we're saving billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, maybe $1 trillion. Who knows? It's a big number. Let's see the what shall we say, the ledger that comes on this thing. Let's see these real. It's over 10 years. We won't see it for the first
10 years
4.
is worthless. I mean, that's 5 Congresses down the road, people. Right?
It's never going to happen if we do that.
It's 10 congressional sessions and 5 congressional
elections
away. Okay, I don't want to hear that. What I want to hear is how much money we're going to save right now this year. And the answer is
show it
really
to me
none.
in the ledger. I want to see it on the ledger. Show me what you cut. Okay, if you cut people at the VA like this big whoop-de-doo that they're saying they're going to have today,
By the way, the VA is one of the last places I would cut. I would go ahead and streamline and make sure that expenditures aren't, wasted.
Right.
But I wouldn't start with the veterans.
No, but the fact of the matter is maybe these are people that haven't been back to work for 5 years. Maybe these are brand new hires that we need to evaluate whether we're growing the organization or not. But the broad brush statement that was made to me, we're not putting up with this. We're not going to, well, put up with what? We don't know what even the issue is, but they're trying to play the emotions and get people out marching in the streets. The veterans are, well, they served us, why can't we serve them? All of those kinds of arguments are being made, and we don't even know for sure what the argument is. And it takes time to sometimes evaluate what facts are. But let's go with facts and let's go with principles. Let's not go with a knee-jerk reaction at every single thing that comes up. We're going to end up standing out there with our little picket sign for something that, oh, wait a minute, maybe this isn't what I thought it was. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know.
And what people want to say to me about this, Doctor, that frustrates me the most is they say, Sam, you got to give them time. When they just, this is a complicated thing. It's a target-rich environment. We got to give them time. And my response to this is we're out of time. Okay, the time to deal with simple issues like daylight savings time is when, Congress is there and the president's not even there, or in the first few days of when President Trump is inaugurated. Okay, the time to deal with daylight savings time is before it changes again. Because now that it changed again, you think they're going to revisit it? I don't think so. I think it's a dead issue for sure, gone and past, and it's not going to get changed during Trump's administration, period. Not going to happen.
They should have fixed the budget before September 30th, but just being careful, no time. When I spoke up in the legislature in Montana just recently, the people who were in favor of changing the Constitution, they didn't address a single concern that people should have about opening up the Constitution for being rewritten. They said, no, we're just out of time. We don't have time to do something else. It's like, so what are you doing? You're going to rewrite the Constitution without any guidelines, without any limits and bounds, without anything that addresses all the concerns, which I brought up a lot of them, and now we're going to change the Constitution because we're out of time? That's a stupid reason to do it. Let's find a path and follow it. By the way, we do have a good path. It's called the Constitution, and we can find our way back to our destination using it. But that was their final and only argument when they were trying to debate me was, well, we're out of time. We've got to do something. I say, bravo, Sierra. That's how I hunt pheasants. I make the pheasants panic by standing near them, even though I don't know they're there. But by moving at a slower pace, you get them to do something out of fear. That's what they did with us with the COVID con. Every single aspect that we make out of fear is a bad decision. I've never seen a good decision out of fear. Anyway, I may be wrong. There's maybe a good decision somewhere, but I haven't found it.
No. And so I know some would say, Sam, you guys are just so negative. You're just so, and my response is I think to bury your head in the sand at this point is more negative. Because what I'm advocating for is we've got a window here. So we lost the battle on daylight savings time. I don't think you can even bring it up now. It's like, well, we already changed the clocks. And, hey, for the rest of this year, we're going to change them back. I just wish that was sooner than later. And then, hey, we're into the next Congress. So even putting a bill in place now won't do any good. It's a waste of time. Go ahead and skip the break.
I think we're at the end of the hour.
What? Oh, my heavens, Dr. Bradley. What is going on around here?
It's been a time zone change.
Oh, yeah. In fact, I'm supposed to start in a couple of minutes, huh?
I think you are.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll do that. It'll just be the second hour, folks. So if you wake up on the wrong side of the bed, depending on where you are. If you're in Arizona, nothing's changed, doctor. Just saying. All right, thanks for being alongside for the ride. FreedomsRisingSun.com. Dr. Bradley, thank you, sir.
You betcha. You guys have a good week.
Hard-hitting talk on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sam Bushman. This is the one and only Liberty Roundtable Live. Hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use at your fingertips. We take care of business on your radio. It's all about news the networks refuse to use and truth-telling. FreedomsRisingSun.com. God save the Republic.